My son and I have made this awesome crawler course for our tiny little SCX 24s, but after a few runs, it started to get a little bit too easy. So we decided to design some motorized obstacles to up the difficulty level quite a bit. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I made those motorized obstacles, as well as how the basic course that we originally created works as well. Now, the base course is designed to be portable and rugged, so we can take it pretty much anywhere in this giant duffel bag. And that's awesome because we can go all over the place with this thing to friends, family, parks, wherever. It can be set up really quick and you can configure it to whatever area you have. I love to run this thing on a table because the consequences of crashing off the table are way greater than rolling over on the carpet, for example. In this layout, we start with an articulated skill plank and move on to the rock pit. Then we fly over to the rattle trap, up a steep incline, and then we slide down the frame slider where a seesaw is waiting for us. Once we're over that, we turn around on this wedge and head straight up the leather rope bridge. We finish the course off with a few rollers in the Lego free-for-all. The Lego obstacle offers a ton of customization, which means you can make this pretty much as easy or as hard as you want, depending on where you put the Legos. And I'm going to talk about how these obstacles were made at the end of this video, but for now, let's keep moving on to the fun stuff. Because when this course got just a little bit too easy, we started thinking about obstacles that would make this much more challenging, and it always came back to motorized obstacles. The first one is this swinging axe, which forces you to pause when you get right up on it, and then you've got to pass through the obstacle at the exact moment without getting hit by the axe or you're getting flipped over. And not only that, you can use it in conjunction with the other obstacles so that it makes the old obstacles even harder. And it was incredibly simple to make. I just 3D printed some brackets that hold some wooden dowels to get the spacing right. And I used a servo to swing an axe made out of a wooden dowel and a 3D printed axe head. All of this is powered by a simple servo tester in the sweep mode and a 6-volt battery. Now let's go test out how this actually works. It turns out it was way too narrow, so if the axe even touched it, everything locked up and pretty much it was garbage. So what I did is I made the brackets a little bit wider and increased some other spacing so that if you get hit with the axe, at least it doesn't trash the course. Now, let's see what happens.
Right up on it and then go as fast as you can. Ah, I got you. And then go as fast as you can. Once it, right when it passes you. Like, go. Go.
And I can pretty much place this axe wherever I want, but I like to use it on this leather rope bridge because that obstacle was one of the main ones that became just way too easy. So now you got to go up right up to the axe, pause until it's at the exact perfect moment, and go through. And since this is swinging relatively fast, it's a lot harder to time than you would originally think. And it took both my son and I several tries initially to get the timing down. And next up, I have this bridge that will flip every couple of seconds and dump you on the ground if you're not fast enough. And similar to the last one, this is designed to force you to pause before you go over the obstacle. This thing is driven by what's called a Geneva mechanism, which allows it to flip exactly 90 degrees each time, and then pause for a brief second while the motor rotates to the remaining about 3/4 of travel before it engages the flip mechanism again. And it's adjustable, so I can make it flip every like 9 seconds or so if I want it to be slow, or I can up the speed to flip every like 2 or 3 seconds, which is incredibly hard. And this thing is modular as well, so on one end I have the Geneva drive that can plug into the 4x4, and on the other end I have this ramp with a dowel that slides into bearings on the 4x4 as well. Now let's have a little bit more fun and see how this works out. With the higher speed setting, this one was actually quite a bit more of a challenge than I expected, because you pretty much have to go right when it's through flipping and almost full speed all the way across, or you're gonna get caught up. And finally, we can put it all together to get one more run with the motorized obstacles in maximum difficulty. Now when it comes to the basic obstacles, I promised to talk about their build, and so let's cover that now. The base is just this plasma cut sheet metal that I formed to whatever shape I wanted on a hydraulic bender. And I 3D printed the skill plank on the first obstacle, and the rock pit is literally just a bunch of rocks in a form that had a lot of epoxy poured over them, so they all dried in place. When we get to the rattle trap, that's the formed sheet metal with some wooden half spheres screwed in place. Now this one, the spheres were a little too small. I wasn't sure about the capabilities of the SCX24, so I would have gone a little larger on this one just to make it harder so you can't just blast across it at full speed. The incline and frame slider is pretty straightforward. I had added some holes so I could screw on some more features on the incline, making that part harder, but really there's not much you can do with the frame slider. It's a cool obstacle, but not that hard. And the seesaw is actually more of a challenge than it looks, because you have to come up it pretty fast to get over this dowel in the middle, but you also have to go right to the edge of the seesaw because it's pretty heavy. And if you come off of it too slow, since it's so heavy, it'll flip the car over as the back wheels are still on the plank, but the front wheels aren't. So that's pretty awesome. And then we get to the wedge, which is the dumbest obstacle I've made. I had better plans for this, but with the real huge turning radius of the SCX24, there's not much you can do. I originally planned for these magnetic planks to allow me to kind of play with what this obstacle can be, but really it rolls over more often than not, and it's not that good. And then the rope bridge. The rope bridge is cool. I like it, it looks good, but it's pretty easy. So that's why I chose the axe for this one, and what really kicked off my interest in this project altogether. Finally, you have the rollers and the Lego trap. Like I said, the Legos can be as easy or as hard as you want. That one's awesome. The rollers are a little easier than expected, but that's because 2 of them catch a lot. If I had some bearings or something in there, it would probably require a lot more speed to get up and over. If you have any more questions on the course, feel free to let me know. I do hope to revise this a little bit more, make them simplified. I used 11 gauge steel, which was way too heavy. Carrying this thing around is a lot harder than I expected. So my next iteration of a portable course will be much lighter, and I'm gonna push the limits of the car a little bit more, probably take a whole different approach. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to the next project.